On April 4, 2025, the Supreme Court handed a victory to the Trump administration. In a 5-4 decision, the court blocked the reinstatement of federal grants. These grants were earmarked for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in education. The ruling has ignited a firestorm of controversy. Critics see it as a blow to efforts promoting inclusivity in schools. This decision has significant implications for federal spending and education policy. The case revolved around over $65 million in grants. This money was intended to support teacher training and address teacher shortages. The Trump administration, however, had other plans. They terminated 104 out of 109 grants. Their justification? These programs, they argued, promoted divisive ideologies. The administration specifically targeted initiatives related to DEI. This move ignited a legal battle that quickly escalated to the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court's decision to intervene in this case is significant in itself. It signals the court's willingness to wade into the politically charged waters of education policy and federal spending. This ruling will undoubtedly have ripple effects across the country. It will likely embolden opponents of DEI programs, while fueling the ongoing debate about the role of the federal government in education. This decision is a stark reminder of the high stakes at play in the battle over America's classrooms. The court's decision was not unanimous. The conservative majority, all appointed by Republican presidents, voted to block the grants. The liberal justices dissented, issuing scathing critiques of the ruling. This ideological split on the court reflects the deep divisions within American society over issues of race, education, and the role of government. The grants at the heart of this controversy were part of two federal programs: the Teacher Quality Partnership and Supporting Effective Educator programs. These programs aim to improve the quality of teaching and address teacher shortages. The Trump administration's decision to terminate the grants was met with immediate pushback. 8 states, led by Democrats, filed a lawsuit seeking to reinstate the funding. A federal district judge in Massachusetts, Myung-Joon, sided with the states. Judge Joon issued a temporary restraining order requiring the Department of Education to restore the grants. The judge argued that the Trump administration had violated federal law by terminating the grants without proper justification. This decision was a significant setback for the administration's efforts to defund DEI programs. The First Circuit Court of Appeals, however, declined to issue a stay on the lower court's order. They did, however, expedite the appeal process, recognizing the importance and urgency of the case. This set the stage for the case to land before the Supreme Court. The High Court's decision to take up the case was highly anticipated. It signaled the significance of the case and its potential to set a precedent for future disputes over federal spending and education policy. The Trump administration, for its part, argued that the lower courts had overstepped their authority. They maintained that the executive branch had the power to decide how to allocate federal funds. This argument, framing the issue as one of separation of powers, resonated with the conservative justices on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's decision to block the DEI grants rested heavily on procedural grounds. The majority opinion, which was unsigned, focused on the issue of jurisdiction. They argued that the district court lacked the authority to order the government to disperse the funds. This, they contended, fell under the purview of the Court of Federal Claims, as stipulated by the Tucker Act. The majority also raised concerns about the government's ability to recover funds that had already been distributed should the administration ultimately prevail in court. They argued that allowing the grants to be distributed would create logistical and financial complications. This pragmatic approach, prioritizing the government's interests, was characteristic of the court's conservative majority. The court's emphasis on procedural matters drew criticism from the dissenting justices. They argued that the majority was using a technicality to sidestep the substantive issues at stake. The dissenters maintained that the Trump administration's actions were unlawful and harmful. They accused the majority of prioritizing the administration's political agenda over the needs of students and the principles of equal opportunity. The majority's opinion, while concise, sent a clear message. Federal courts should be wary of interfering with the executive branch's spending decisions. This stance reflects a broader trend in the court's jurisprudence towards deference to executive power, particularly in matters of national security and budgetary matters. The Supreme Court's decision to block the DEI grants drew sharp criticism from the dissenting justices. Justice Elena Kagan, writing for the minority, called the ruling a mistake. She argued that the majority had ignored the harm caused by halting the grants. This harm, she emphasized, would be felt most acutely by disadvantaged students who rely on these programs for equal opportunities. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, joined by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, also penned a dissenting opinion. Justice Jackson characterized the decision as unprincipled and unfortunate. She expressed concern that the ruling would have a chilling effect on future challenges to executive action. The dissenters' voices, though outnumbered, highlighted the profound moral and societal implications of the court's decision. The ruling's impact extends far beyond the immediate case. It signifies a victory for the Trump administration in its efforts to curb DEI initiatives. The decision also emboldens opponents of such programs, potentially leading to further legal challenges and legislative efforts to limit their scope. The Supreme Court's decision is likely to have a chilling effect on DEI efforts nationwide. Schools and universities fearing legal challenges or the loss of federal funding may be more hesitant to implement programs aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion. This could have long-term consequences for educational equity and social justice.